My next claim is that we may be the first generation who won't die.
We are the first generation who will not die.
So you don't plan on dying?
That's right.
How old realistically do you think you can live until?
I don't think we'll die.
Assalamualaikum, brothers and sisters. Hope you are all doing well. Has anyone heard of Bryan Johnson? The man who became globally famous not for any conventional achievement but for his singular, all-consuming obsession, defeating death itself. At 48 years old, he looks decades younger and has spent millions of dollars and years of his life building what he believes is the most optimized human body on Earth. He takes over 100 pills daily, employs a full medical team to monitor every organ, wakes before sunrise for hours of structured protocols, and publicly announced he intends to achieve immortality by 2039. Netflix even made a documentary about him called Don't Die, but something happened recently that brought all of that crashing back to reality. And it came from the last place he expected. Let's watch.
My first claim, ending death, should be humanity's #1 objective. My next claim is that we may be the first generation who won't die.
We are the first generation who will not die.
So you don't plan on dying?
That's right.
How old realistically do you think you can live until?
I don't think we'll die.
Hey friends, so I've got some bad news. I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and my stomach is eating itself.
The irony here is almost too precise to be coincidental. A man who has dedicated his entire existence to controlling every biological variable in his body, diet, sleep, supplements, blood markers, organ scans, was struck down not by anything external, but by his own immune system. His body began attacking itself from the inside. The very biological machinery he spent millions trying to perfect turned against him without warning and without any outside trigger. He did not miss a supplement. He did not skip a scan. He did everything his protocol demanded, and his own stomach began eating itself anyway. That is not a malfunction of his system. That is a message. And the message is one that no amount of money, medical technology, or biohacking discipline can override. The human body operates under authority that no
Hey friends, so I've
billionaire
got
has
some
ever
bad news.
successfully
I
negotiated.
got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and my stomach is eating itself. We just found out about this diagnosis last month when I did a bidirectional endoscopy, which means it's a colonoscopy and also you go down the throat as well. So looking at my entire intestinal tract. And so I didn't know this thing was happening inside my stomach.
With Allah subhanahu Washington Ta'ala states clearly in the Holy Quran, every soul will taste death. Not some souls, not most souls, not souls that neglect their health. Every single one. The richest man alive, the most disciplined biohacker on the planet, the most powerful kings in history who commanded armies and resources that dwarf anything Bryan Johnson could dream of. They searched for the loophole and found nothing. Because the loophole does not exist. Prophet Nuh gave dawah to his people for nearly 950 years, an almost incomprehensible lifespan, and still prepared for death with the wisdom and seriousness it deserves. If a prophet granted nearly a millennium of life never stopped thinking about his end, what exactly is Bryan Johnson imagining he has discovered that changes the equation? Bryan Johnson's diagnosis is not necessarily terminal. Autoimmune gastritis is serious, but it is not a death sentence in the immediate sense. But that is almost beside the point. Because what this moment offers to him and to everyone watching is a rare and direct confrontation with the reality that every human being spends enormous energy avoiding. The question was never whether death is coming. That was settled before any of us drew our first breath. The question is what we are doing with the time between now and that moment. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked which believer is the wisest. He said, the one who remembers death the most and prepares for it best. Not the one who lives the longest. Not the one with the most optimized biology. The one who faces the truth of their mortality and lets that truth make them better. Bryan Johnson chose to spend his fortune running from that truth. And his own body just turned around and walked toward him anyway. There is something deeply clarifying about watching a man who has staked his entire identity on defeating death receive a diagnosis that his own body generated without external cause. No enemy penetrated his defenses. No outside variable slipped through the protocol. The challenge came from within, as it always does for all of us, in one form or another. The ending always comes. The only variable is whether we spend our time preparing for it or pretending it was not approaching. May Allah grant us all the wisdom to remember death often and the clarity to prepare for what comes after it. So brothers and sisters, what are your thoughts on Bryan Johnson's immortality obsession and this recent development? Drop your views in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already. Until next time, be safe. Assalamu alaikum.